Hi, and welcome to my channel. We're doing the month ahead astrology highlights for the month of April. So let's get straight into it. Now, on the left here, if you're not already a regular viewer, I show the difference with the different chart systems so you can kind of follow along. On the left is the tropical system that goes by the seasons and everything's in neat 30-degree sections. And then on the right here, we've got topocentric. Anyway, we've got the topocentric true sidereal system that goes by the actual size of each constellation and includes a focus. So this is actually where they're positioned according to the size of the constellations. So that's really what system I go with, but I show it here so you can see the differences, so you can kind of pick up what's going on for you if you're following the tropical system, if that makes sense. But I go by the true sidereal, so I'll be kind of breaking that down to the best I can that way. So anyway, let's jump in. We've got over here in true sidereal, we've got full moon in Virgo. Over here in tropical, they're saying it's Libra. What I wanted to point out, because there's a couple of things happening here. This is the full moon that's happening. Hopefully I can get this uploaded before the full moon, but this is still, there's going to be some things current anyway, even if I upload this after the full moon. I don't know what's going to happen yet. But anyway, over here, Venus stations direct. Don't start partying yet because that's her post shadow. And Mercury retro, I'm pretty sure, is still in post shadow. So we've got that going on. I'll just hop that out because I just wanted to make a quick note of that. So we've got full moon in Virgo, so health, duty, service to others. Now we've also got here, this is one of the first that I took notice of, was this, again, sorry for the drawing. I'm really terrible at drawing, but hopefully I can get the point across the right way. So we've got a T-square going on with the full moon and Mars. So it's taking action, wanting to forge ahead, health, duty, service to others. Again, it's going to be different for each person according to their rising sign, where it's actually hitting in your chart. You may be a Virgo rising sign, then it's going to be in your first house. For Leo rising, it'd be in your second, and so on and so forth. For Pisces, it'd be in your 12th. No, sorry, 7th. So because 12th is Aquarius. Anyway, it's going to be different for everyone, but the idea is the Mars is not happy in the sign of Cancer, whether he's retrograding or direct. So he's wanting to forge ahead with Cancerian themes of home, family, creature comforts, security, safety, all that sort of thing. Now, and then we've got health, duty, service to others, that sort of thing, detail oriented, nitty gritty, maybe because it's the full moon, it might be things about being too judgmental on self or others. I bring up the idea of self because over here with obviously the full moon has the opposition to the sun, but it's also, as you can see here, 33 degrees is sun and Chiron. So here it's in opposition to the sun and Chiron. So healing wounds, which may be about, because Virgo then some negatives of Virgo, or a negative of Virgo, is this excessive attention to detail, excessive criticisms, judgments, all that sort of thing. And there might be some healing needed with that. because Mars is wanting to forge ahead, and this has got to do with home family, which gives me the idea of family, Chiron wounds coming all the way back to childhood, family. It could have something to do with that. Now, also, we've got this guy, or these two guys here, which again is aspecting the full moon in Virgo. Now, these are the quincunx. No, not, yeah, quincunx, I think. Yeah. So I think that's what I wanted to talk about first. Yeah. Um, and so they're about not sweeping things under the carpet. It's really about forcing us to look at issues. And this is a full moon, so this is going to be pretty intense. Um, yeah, um, because there's opposing energies, as it's known as, and now this is the moon opposing not only Venus, who's in her post shadow, stationing direct going in her post shadow, but it's also Saturn. They're both in Pisces as well. And Virgo's very direct and, just so, while Pisces is, go with the flow and nebulous and easygoing and maybe a bit out there in the ethers, sort of not really focusing, uh not really taking things seriously. Maybe? I don't know. But with Saturn here, it kind of gives the idea that it is sort of taking something needs to be taken seriously, as well as the fact that it is a quincunx with the full moon. And Venus has got something to do with it as well. So there's going to be a fair bit of work between Pisces, Virgo, and Cancer energies taking action in that way with the focus on healing perhaps some past wounds, or it might be recent wounds that have a sort of familiarity or a similarity to certain triggers from the past, that certain things that trigger you that might be from the past, that haven't been dealt with. This is really, we're really going to have to look at anything that we've tried to sweep under the carpet, because it's really a matter of if we're constantly hiding it all under the carpet, it's going to make different, mounds or hills or piles or whatever under the carpet. So it's not going to stay, the carpet ain't going to stay flat, if I want to put it that way. So it's sort of like you're tripping over your own mounds in that way by trying to sweep it under the carpet and not looking at what the issue might be. And I think it might have something to do with any sort of negative Virgo traits, like being too detail oriented, too stuck in the mud with ideas, too judgmental, critical and judgmental of yourself and or others. And that might be holding you back, judgmental of a situation or judgmental of others. But it might be more of a self thing, I think, even though we don't have Taurus or the second house working. Well, the houses are going to be different for everyone, because this is over here in Australia and from Newcastle, Australia. So the houses are going to be different depending on where you are located. But yeah, so even though we don't have Taurus in the mix, so to speak, it's really still giving me the vibes of probably more of an internal self-directed sort of thing that we have to deal with in that sense. If this is an opening, really, if you want to put it that way. It's an opening. It's not a pleasant one, but it's an opening nonetheless to look into our own issues surrounding these themes, Pisces, Virgo, Cancer, and again, you'll get a bit more information with your own personal birth chart where these all fall in your chart, Pisces, Virgo, Cancer. But the main things being what you need to feel safe, your safety, security, comfort, home, family, that sort of thing. And it's also, it still matters even if it's an empty house, the empty houses, you shouldn't ignore the empty houses. They're still significant. Just because certain houses have different activity doesn't mean they're the only one you look at, be all end all of the chart. For instance, here with this chart, the seventh house is in Sag. So you'd be easygoing with your relationships, or you might have relationships that are long distance, for instance. See, so that's how that works. Even though there's absolutely no activity, if this was someone's birth chart, that's what would happen with their energetic makeup. I guess you want to, I don't know if that's the way to put it, but yeah, that sort of thing. For instance, third house in Leo. So creativity, children, fun is how the person would communicate if they're, and they'd be a Taurus rising because it's just at the last tendrils of Taurus here. It hasn't clicked over to Gemini in this chart yet. So over here, again, that would be for over here. If anyone was born over here in this area, then that would be their rising sign. Again, it would be different according to where you're from, like where the rising sign would actually be and where the houses would fall. But the signs would be exactly the same. Hopefully that makes sense. But yeah, so we've got it can with the quincunx, there can sort of be a sort of type of like a sense of like a bit of a feeling of disconnection in a way, like not an easy go, easy flow sort of thing, even though we've got Pisces here. But we've got Saturn here with bringing the wisdom and taking things methodically and slowly and long term. Saturn likes that. Saturn likes to take things into account, not just fly through or sweep it, under the carpet, so to speak, like I said. So Saturn wants us to do this work, and it does have something to do with our relationships. And that's where the confusion might fall in. The full moon tropical is in Libra, but the Libra feel, the Libra sense is actually what's going on here with Venus. Venus is the ruling planet of Libra and Taurus. So this is where also Taurus might come in, like I said, with the Chiron as well. That might, if I want to take it that way, that might be the Taurus themes of self-worth and finances for some, depending on, again, what houses fall in your chart with these signs. But something cannot be swept under the rug. Again, like with, say, eclipses and retrogrades, the energies are here for us to work with. But if for some reason there is either nothing like that going on in our lives, so we don't need to do the work, or we've already done the work, then, this isn't going to affect us. But for those of us who know, again, like I said, with the, I always say with the full moon eclipse especially, you've got to be brutally honest with yourself. Can you say without a shadow of a doubt that there isn't something you've been avoiding or hanging on to that is not good for you? If you can say that there's nothing like that, then great, that's fine, unless you're deluding yourself, in which case it's going to hit you hard. But otherwise, for those of you who don't have a need to do the work, then yay to you, yay for you. I'm happy for you. But yeah, this is, I talk like this, but like this is for me as well. I've got to sort of look into how it fits in my chart and what I'm avoiding, because I know there's been things I've been avoiding too. So I'm, it's not going to, I'm, I'm not Miss Perfect. I've got, flaws as well. But yeah, so this is really going to be it's also with the T squares, because I've brought that up because there's going to be more of them coming through the month. And I've made a particular note of a couple of them. I'm kind of going back and forward because I really haven't finished with the quincunx. What I wanted to say was it's also a catalyst for growth and change, and it's really, really that way with the full moon eclipses as well. This and the retrogrades are here to show us a different point of view or an option open to us that we hadn't looked at before. For instance, that's what a retrograde will do. With these energies, it's what have we not been wanting to change or whatever? What have we been avoiding perhaps? Because the quincunx will force us to have to look at making growth and having growth and change, whether we like it or not. Difference is, will we be open to working with these energies, or are we going to ignore it to the best of our ability, if you want to put it that way, sweep it under the carpet and then trip over it later on and probably break our leg or something, It's kind of like that, spiritually break our leg in a not good way. So you don't want to be in those sort of situations. Um, so yeah, where are we out of balance kind of thing? Facing the challenge, looking at it head on, dead in the eyes and going, right, what are we, yeah, what are we ignoring? What are we avoiding? What is in the too hard basket sort of thing that, we can't keep pushing away because it's just because we put it in the too hard basket doesn't mean it's just going to suddenly vanish and we don't ever need to deal with it anymore. Um, things can often get worse when they're not dealt with if they're ignored. Um, and so this strives for balance and harmony by working with these energies. And so we've got like I said, the T square. Hopefully I explained that well enough. But yeah, with the energy of Chiron smack bang on the sun, which is giving the Virgo full moon energy, taking the action to look into any wounds or any triggers from past wounds, perhaps, but also with the quincunx energies of Saturn and Venus quincunxing the moon, the full moon, it's going to be quite a huge energy for those of us who still need to do the work. I would say that perhaps people with Virgo sun, maybe Virgo moon, but also Virgo rising, it's probably going to hit you guys quite a bit. Yeah. So good luck with that. But yeah, so what else? Is there anything else? Yeah, because there's trying to find that balance and harmony and easy go, easy flow again kind of thing. But the only way we'll be able to do that is by doing the work, looking into what is it, how, facing it and having the courage to face it, because it's a catalyst. It's going to be growth and change, and it's not going to be an easy time. But this is, I guess, take a few breaths, because really we're going to need to get in there and get our emotional hands dirty. I guess you want to put it that way. Um, hopefully I'm making sense. I really hope I am. But yeah, so it's probably not going to be an easy full moon. So if I get this up before the full moon, hopefully I will. But if I do, I would say enjoy the days leading up to the full moon, because from there it's sort of yeah, with these T squares and the quincunx, um, it's going to be not so easy. Now, I did not mention the other aspects being Mars is opposing Pluto. So Mars again in Cancer, opposing Pluto in Capricorn. So again with the creature comforts, and the home, family, safety, security, opposing Capricorn, the CEO, top officials, government officials, even, because this can play out in the outside world. It doesn't always have to mean that each person is going to be personally experiencing these, but we're either going to experience it ourselves if we're still needing to do the work, or we're going to see it play out with others in the outside world, in some way. So Pluto's still in Capricorn. And so this is about, like I said, CEOs, higher ups, people in places of power, whether it's government, whether it's I was going to say officers. I don't know why. Not officers, officers. But yeah, but people, the face of companies, the people who are at the top, so to speak, opposing, home, family, comfort, safety, security. Mars is wanting to take action with these things, while Pluto's wanting to clear out any negativity to do with power. I want to say people in power, positions of power. We're seeing things playing out now. I want to, without saying too much, we're seeing certain things play out in the outside world with certain things I've just mentioned. And again, I don't want to say too much because with the algorithm and all that sort of thing, you don't want to sort of get flagged or whatever. But yeah, see the opposition being peacefulness, harmony, home, family, safety, security is being opposed by higher ups and officials, whether that's even the head of the house, maybe whoever considers themselves the boss, the head of the house or the head of the corporation, because the family could be, for instance, there's the boss and there's the workers, because you can become a sort of tribe, family, whatever, even in a working group. And so there's the boss saying, doing what they want, opposing the workers. See, so it could play out that way. So we're seeing things like that come through now. And before, when it was in Sag, what did we have? Travel issues, not being able to go places. And when it was right, going back and forward, coming in and out of Sag and Capricorn, that was what was going on, that the higher ups were holding on to the idea of travel and sort of keeping the majority away from being able to experience it, if that makes sense, for instance. Yeah, I think I don't want to touch too much on that either. Now also there's Jupiter over here, and he is squaring, I think he's also squaring Venus and Saturn. Oh, sorry. So yeah, so Jupiter's in Taurus. So here we've got the Taurus themes again. So Taurus is coming in. I kind of said before that there wasn't Taurus, but really, if you're looking at this, it's another aspect. So it's happening, obviously. Um, so Jupiter's in Taurus. So it's our self-worth, our physical body, our money, what we value, the things we value, the people we value, which in turn is squaring Venus station direct and Saturn. Um, so yeah, it's another serious look at the easy go, easy flow, as well as what we value. And there's that sort of challenge to balance them up, especially with Venus being in post shadow. Because this is the thing as well. Like I said earlier, don't start having a party because Mercury's gone direct and now Venus is going direct, because they're both going to be in post shadow. And with the shadow periods, they can often be more crazy than the actual retrogrades themselves. So we're not out of the woods yet. Um, so yeah, so we've got to keep that in mind. And again, with the shadow periods, it's more about, like, again, with the Saturn thing, taking it slow and methodical. What information came through to us? What went on? Certain things, I know for me, certain things happened that I wasn't expecting. And there we've got the eclipse issue again as well, because we're still in the eclipse portal as well. So there's all these energies just thrashing us right now. But yeah, so I spoke about the eclipses in last month's astrological highlights. I think that it's in the second half of the video if you want to sort of, fast forward or whatever. I think, oh, I'm trying to remember. But anyway, yeah, it's in there. The eclipses are in there. I think actually it was throughout the whole. Anyway, you guys can find out for yourself. But yeah, the information for the eclipses is in last month's March astrological highlights video. Yeah, so we've got Saturn taking things slow, methodical. Where I'm going with this is thinking about, okay, with what happened, with what we saw happen, and again, it may be personal to you, or it may be what you've seen happen in the outside world, with others, and how it might or might not be affecting you or others you care about, for instance. But certain things happen throughout the retrograde, throughout the eclipse phases as well. And this again is where we've got to sort of take stock of it, take a serious account, perhaps, of, okay, what happened, what changes things now because of what happened, what sort of changes are happening or need to happen. Again, it's the retrograde idea of, with the post shadow, where we think about it, we don't really act on it if we haven't already made some sort of change before the direct phase, if that makes sense. So before the post shadow phase, with the pre shadow and the retrograde phases, they're the times to take action, Mars, to take action in something. But if we haven't taken action and this guy's going, or she is going direct straight into her post shadow, then this is the time to take a breath, because there's a lot going on. There's a lot of, I want to say, in going within, internal thoughts, feelings, Chiron, what are our triggers, what's been triggering us, or what's happened that's given us an epiphany of how we've been thinking, perhaps. Remember, Mercury's in his post shadows, thinking, thinking ideas and how we've been perceiving things, because again, Mercury is the ruling planet of Virgo. So there's the connection again. So again, the idea of, okay, what happened, what changes might need to be made, what's available to us, in terms of changes, or, and looking at, if we don't know that, looking at what might be available to us, and just taking notes, so to speak, mental notes, physical notes, whatever, taking notes about what might be available or what might be the best solution, but not actually really doing anything now because we've got 2 station directs. It doesn't say that with Mercury because he already went station direct, so he's now in his post shadow. She'll be starting her post shadow right then on the full moon. Yeah, so Jupiter's about expansion and growth. It's the Sag ruling planet. Freedom, so there's freedom with what you value, who you value, or your money, freedom with your money. It might be finances, financial freedom that you're wanting. How are you going about that? What's happened so far? What's going to happen? How are you going to be able to deal with it? What are your options? Whether it's finances, love, relationships of any sort, or items, what you value, something you wanted to purchase or something you wanted to acquire or sell or buy or whatever. That's all these things can come into account in that way as well. But there's the idea that since it's the full moon, it's not really because of the 2 post shadows, I would say it's not really the best time yet to be taking on new things or making a decision just yet. I'd leave it still a couple of weeks if possible, which would probably play into the new moon. But yeah, so I really hope I never really know if I'm sort of all over the place or not with how I sound on these videos. Oh, I did, well, you get the gist anyway, because I work with this system anyway, but you can still follow along there. I'll try to remember to, write the little bits on each one. But yeah, I think that's all for the full moon that I can tell you. So let's move on to the next one, which I'm not yet going into the new moon because this is where I want to talk about some more aspects because I think it's important. So I don't know how long this video is going to be. It might be quite long, but I think it's important for us to know these things. Here we go. T-square aspects. Like I said, that other one was a lighter T-square. I don't know if you noticed it wasn't, oh, why have I got new moon here? Wait, let's go. No, nope. I'm going to have to move it. Okay, wait a minute. There we go. No, we don't. There we go. I don't know what I did with that one. Oh, that's annoying. See, Mercury post shadow. See, crazy things can happen. Even after it's station direct, doesn't mean that everything just suddenly changes in the blink of an eye. It's still, the energies are still there because he's slowly catching back up to like I kind of liken it to something like, say, a train has to slow down to get to this stop at the station, right? And then it stops at the station, retrograde. So it's pre-shadow moving into the station, then it's the retrograde, stopping at the station, station direct, or station retrograde. And then, yeah, station retrograde. And then once it starts taking off again, then it's station direct, post shadow, if you get what I mean. It's slowly gaining momentum to move forward again, but it hasn't yet picked up the pace. So that's kind of how I liken it. So anyway, we're back here again with, now before I jump into this one, because I didn't want to make it too long, which is why I didn't get the other charts. There's also, because it's pretty much, I want to sort of name April as T-square alley, quite frankly, because there's just a lot of that going on this month. So as you can see there, it's the 21st, and no, it's not the new moon by then. But what I'm what I want to say before I get into these charts here is that there's also going to be a T-square going on the 17th. Now, these dates also are for over here in Newcastle, Australia. So I would pull back one day, say, for US and UK, perhaps, for instance. So it depends on what date time it might be for you guys. But yeah, so the 17th over here will have another T-square. So that's obviously before here. And again, it all sort of, goes one to the next kind of thing. And that T-square on the 17th will be Mars opposing Pluto, and then it'll be the Sun squaring Mars and Pluto. So Sun's going to be still in the final tendrils of Pisces. So it's really this T-square, quite frankly, is still happening. Let's just say, let's put it that way. So we've got Pluto, Mars, and the Sun. Now also, we've got the Moon in a T-square with the Sun and Mars. So there's two different T-squares. It's kind of pretty crazy. But yeah, so that's quite tough as well. So we've got Sun in Pisces still, and we've still got Mars in Cancer, Pluto in Capricorn, as I was mentioning earlier. Oh, see my it might it might sound crazy, but in my family line, there's a lot of actual artists which are really, really good at their job. That's not me. It completely skipped me. Yeah, I just yeah, I can't get this right. Oh my God. Anyway, so Pluto's in Cap here. He's in opposition to Mars, as we spoke about before. Then we've got Moon in Sag. Oh, sorry about this, guys. I don't want to take 3,000 years to try and get the drawing right. But anyway, Sag, Moon, freedom, Sag likes freedom. Moon in Sag, you know, Moon, comfort, safety, security, freedom, right? And then we've got what I spoke about before with the other full moon, because this is still full moon energy. This is like we really, while it is more, the full moon itself has more power within the 3-day radius around it, it still has full moon energy leading all the way up to the new moon. And then with the 3-day window before the new moon, which is the balsamic phase, that's the healing phase, but it's still the final phase of the full moon. Healing is clearly about, ridding yourself of things that aren't pleasant, and healing and feeling better, if that makes sense, all to get yourself prepared for bang, the new moon energy. So it's the full moon energy still, and the theme of it is still running through, even though the moon has now passed all the way through to Sag. If that makes sense, you've still got those aspects, or those energies, sorry, in play, if that makes sense. So we've got the Sun in Pisces again, the easy go, easy flow, dreaminess, caught in the ethers. It could have to do with addictions as well, things like that, because we're still looking at full moon energy. I didn't pick that up with the full moon charts, but anyway, yeah, that sort of thing might be a thing too, because often with if we're not coping, our coping mechanisms may be certain addictions to try and, that comes back to the sweep under the rug sort of thing that I said with the other charts before. But because we've needing freedom to feel safe because the moon's now in Sag, and this, whoever's the top dog, opposing, you know, safety, security, harmony, happiness, comforts, creature comforts, home, family, and again, is there some sort of, are we being hoodwinked by bullish, bossy people, in some way, or is some bully, bossy person trying to override our comfort, our home, family comforts, So this is a double, a double T-square we've got there. We've got two of them. Yeah, so I think there's a measure of wanting that freedom as well. Now, also, we've still got Jupiter squaring Venus and Saturn still. So we see how we've still got those energies lingering, even though it was full moon, which was from this chart. If we're in on the 21st, then it would have been 13th, wasn't it? Yeah. Yeah, so we're looking at nearly 2 weeks prior, and we've still got these energies lingering. We don't have the quincunx anymore, but we've got the T-squares, and we've got the square there as well, that we're still needing to work with these energies. It's not squaring Chiron now. It's only squaring the sun. So I think that's where I was saying there seemed to be quite a tense heaviness perhaps with the full moon, but this is sort of in a sense dissipating, like I said, without the quincunx, but there's still tension and challenge with the opposition and the square. And we've got two, as you can see, two T-squares coming through. Yeah, so obviously here there's the differences here with the signs, which is going to change things. But again, I guess because this is saying Sun in Taurus, Pluto in Aquarius, Moon in Cap, see how it's all changed. Mars Leo, that's the tropical. But yeah, so for me, this is really what's happening at the moment, I believe. In a worldview kind of way, as well as the personal. It could be personal, might well be personal for some. So yeah, the idea of not being so oppressive, because that's the negative as well. Because even in the tarot, the Capricorn sign is the one and the only one that is associated with the card, the devil, the oppressor. And that can be the negative of Capricorn. There's obviously positives, there's positives and negatives to every sign. So, it's not all Capricorns are devils and not all Capricorns are oppressors, but there's that oppressor energy coming through with these T-squares in some way. So there's the challenge to work through or past or around that in some way, because there's the Pisces gentle energy, there's the Cancer gentle energy, even though it's not that gentle because Mars isn't gentle. And then there's, like I said, Sag needing the freedom. There may be something to do with travel as well, restricting travel in some way, the need to be free, but then depending on how strong the oppressor is, there may be some sort of issue around, if it's not travel, it's a Sagittarius themes, worldwide. It could have to do with higher learning, belief systems, organized religion, all that comes into play with Sag. Freedom as well, the need for freedom. yeah, so I think that that's going to be the big things playing out, and yeah, so some of us might be hit with the personal side of it, but a lot of us are probably going to see things playing out on the world stage, so to speak. So there's going to be, yeah, um, it's a challenge to try and find a way to deal with these energies without fighting them, I want to say, because Mars is like taking action, fighting against it, like being the freedom fighter kind of thing. Freedom fighter. Wow. Yeah. In some places it might be like that. Mm. I want to say I hope not, but it's kind of in, yeah. Again, I don't want to sort of, oh, I don't want to sort of say too much and sort of, oh, um, but hopefully I'm making some sense here. Hopefully it's making sense for you guys out there. Um, the idea that what, if it's the world stage, there's not a lot we can do about it. Even, voting or whatever, for instance, is not really going to make a lot of difference. But if we've got things to work on, like I said, with the previous charts, not sweeping things under the rug, working on what we can, what we do have access to, what we do have a measure of I don't really want to say control because it seems very much like the control aspect is in a negative. Because Mars is arguing with Pluto. Pluto's wanting to purge. That's what it's supposed to be doing. And Mars is wanting to take action, fighting against it for our freedom kind of thing. Um, but yeah, this is gonna again, I think trying to do our best to deal with these energies, to cope with these energies, to do what we can in our own lives, to try and do the best in our lives we can, because like I said, with whether it's retrogrades, eclipses, or whatever, it's about trying to give us these energies to work with to better our lives, to make better, to give ourselves a better quality of life. While we're seeing these things play out on the world stage, it's probably in our best interests to not, yeah, to not jump into fear, which is another negative of Pisces. Because if we're jumping into fear, we're feeding the fear, aren't we? We're feeding the higher ups our energy of fear, um, which doesn't give them fear, it gives them power, if that makes sense. So taking the Saturn viewpoint, remember Saturn and Venus, and that's squaring Jupiter in Taurus. So there's that idea of self-worth coming through again, values, what we value, focusing on our own values and trying our best with Saturn being wisdom, wise, taking things slow and methodical, taking a look at things where we can, um, focusing on um, what we can improve, what we can change, and not sitting in fear of whatever's going on emotionally, because this is so close, and it's going to catch up within a day or whatever to Pluto, because then it'll be. I don't think I took note of that of exactly when that's going to line up the moon to Pluto. So that's going to be another aspect too, because then it's really going to be, you know, safety and security versus oppressors kind of thing, smack bang on top of each other. So yeah, so trying our best not to allow ourselves to sit in fear of whatever's going on outside of us, but doing the best we can closer to home, how we can bring in safety, security, comfort, peace, tranquility, happiness in whatever form that is for us, whatever we're capable of being able to do, regardless of what's going on out there, if that makes sense. Yeah, trying not to jump into the fear, being balanced about it. Because again, Venus rules both Taurus and Libra there. So there's the idea of the balance as well, with Saturn wanting to use the balance of Venus in that sense. Yeah. So yeah, it's big energies, guys. I just really feel that. But all we can do is focus on ourselves and do the best we can to still bring a measure of expansion and growth, because it's a challenge. It doesn't mean that it's going to screech to a halt. It's a challenge for us to look at how we can expand and grow with Taurus themes, no matter where that falls in our chart. Expand and grow with Taurus themes, which includes Venus and Saturn in Pisces. So we've got Taurus, Pisces, and the expansion and growth of Jupiter, and the money, self-worth, relationship, depending on what it is for you personally, of Venus. Just focusing on what we can do, even the smallest move forward is still a move forward, and to try not to focus too much on what's going on outside of us that we don't have control of, if that makes sense. It's not about ignoring things so much. It's not about jumping through lily fields and kissing unicorns and looking at rainbows all over the place. But it's about not letting ourselves get pulled into the negative. There's Chiron as well. That might have a Chiron trigger, like I said, from the full moon issue as well. So yeah, hopefully this, again, hopefully this is making sense, but I think the main idea is try what we can to bring in a measure of expansion and growth in a healthy way. Remember, full moon was in Virgo, so the healthy way, it doesn't necessarily just mean physical health, like how we eat or exercise, but healthy habits, healthy ideas, healthy ways of doing things, So we'll still have that Virgo energy coming through from the previous full moon that was on the 13th over here, 12th maybe in some other places. But yeah, so I think that's all I can say there. I mean, we've got some easier sextiles and trines, which is really good as well, because Mars is trining those over there as well, a few of those, but they're lighter aspects and easier aspects. So I just sort of wanted to talk about working through the difficult aspects, because the easy ones are easy. So, anyway, I think that we'll move on to now the next moon phase. I think I don't know if I'm making sense. I sort of ad lib, I guess, or whatever. I'll just sort of go with it. But yeah, so now we've got the new moon. New moon is in Topocentric Aries. So again, it's taking action over. Oh, I haven't, sorry. Hang on. Ah, where are you? Now I've got to look for you because, yeah, that's it. Yep, right. So I was like, that looks different, because it is. Okay, because I was like, where is it? Okay, so over here they're saying new moons, that was terrible. Let me do that again. Tropical are saying it's new moon Taurus. Yeah, so what have we got here? We've still got, see, we've still got that T square, but see how it's not as strong now? It's eased off. Even this square here with, is it still? Yeah, it's Jupiter with Venus and Saturn still, yes. Yeah, because they're only 1 degree away from each other. Yeah. Okay, so we've still got the square going on there, but again, like I said with this guy, it's eased off a bit. So the tensions are the tensions are dissipating, let's say, right at the end of April. But hey, so by this time we'll pretty much be used to these energies being the way they have been, but there is dissipation, as you can see, with all of it, which means things are easing off. The energies aren't as intense. They're still a bit intense. So it's still kind of the same sort of thing because we've got the new moon now hitting this T square. But the difference being the new moon is taking action. Well, yeah, being in Aries, taking action, but it's still working with those energies, but bringing in the new. So I think it was tougher before because we had to deal with cleaning things up. But we're bringing in the new while there's still tendrils of what was previously going on. Because we're still needing to clean up the aftermath, maybe. Yeah. So this is now in Aries, taking action, taking the lead. Mars is the ruling planet of Aries. So again, taking action, home, family, safety, security, creature comforts, even perhaps you know, a nice meal. That's probably more a Taurus thing, I think. But anyway, yeah, the safety, security was still, it's kind of going to make sense anyway, because we're still going to be dealing with that. But now it's more about taking action rather than fighting for our freedom, sort of thing, so to speak. Or for some, it will be like that, that we will hear something like that going on. Um, yeah, but now it's about taking action, depending on where this is falling in your chart. It's going to be taking action with Cancerian themes. Like I said, home, family, safety, security. It could be taking, you know, if you're in a position of authority in some way, taking action with security with your house, for instance. It could be something simple like that. Sorry, I'm all over the place right now. Or I feel like I am anyway. But yeah, it could be something simple like that. Looking at security within your house, like, you know, safety, security, whatever. But yeah, there'll be Cancerian themes, Capricorn themes, and again, we've still got the T square, so we've still got these things going on, but now we've come to a point where we've sort of oh, almost gotten used to the energies, but not, if that makes sense. Gotten used to the energies insofar as we kind of know how things are seeming at this point of time, so to speak. We know what we can work with, and we're doing that, you know, bringing in the new, in a responsible, methodical, slow, methodical way, you know, but taking action at the same time. Because remember, Mars is in Cancer, and Cancer is not a sign that wants to scream along 5,000 miles an hour. They like to hang out in their pajamas all day, kind of thing, you know, if they were able to, you know, if they didn't have to have work responsibilities or whatever, work responsibilities. But yeah, so balancing the idea of, again, it could be within a work environment, a family sort of theme, a family feeling, which is not going to be the oppressive CEO or whatever. Because that could be the thing too, because it might be something like taking action. It might be a boss, right? Taking action to bring in a more family oriented feeling to the company. It could be something like that. There's the T square, right? It's not going to be easy, but this is dissipated, so it's not as difficult as it was previously, if that makes sense. It will be different for different people, again, depending on where it falls, in what houses these fall in each person's chart. But it could play out that way, you know. But there's definitely taking action and putting yourself first, really. There's a self first thing. But see, this is the new moon energy, so it's not selfish, so it's not a negative. Putting self first, because that's Aries. Aries is the baby of the zodiac, me. And that's where we had Uranus was in Aries with the me movement, you know, that me. I don't want to say me, but if I say me and the number, then it will, you know, the algorithm might do its thing. But yeah, so that was while Uranus was in Aries. Now Uranus is in Taurus. See, so now it's about stability, security, money, which has come to the fore, you know, taxes and all that sort of thing. There's a big deal going on with the, you know, Capricorn, Saturn influences, and the need to purge those, which clearly hasn't happened yet. But the purging does start with revealing issues. The issues are getting revealed right now. We're seeing it play out in the world, right? And so Uranus in Taurus, expansion and growth, and the need to be not status quo, you know, so they're in conjuncting in the same sign, right? Hopefully I said that right, conjunction, they're in the same sign. Generally a conjunction is like within 30 degrees. But yeah, so this is still within 30 degrees, I think, yeah. But so Uranus wanting to make change. I was just redoing this, sorry. I'm saying one thing and doing a different thing. That's not going to be. Okay, so just put that back there. So, because I wanted to have Uranus on show. Uranus in Taurus and Jupiter in Taurus, the expansion and growth, wanting to break the monotony, break free, blow up the status quo kind of thing. Now that's happening. But at the moment, what we're seeing is the negative side of it. The status quo is getting blown up, expanding. We're seeing it because Jupiter, remember, Jupiter's the ruling planet of Sag. So the world is seeing things sort of look like they're blowing up to do with finances, right? With those in power. But this is the new moon energy. So there's something new taking place, bringing in the new. Um, the aspects to look at, like I said, again, is the Saturn and Venus and the T-square. So we're still looking at pretty much the same energies the whole way through the month actually. Again, it's going to be the same thing. Focus on ourselves, and especially because the new moon's going to be in Aries, so it's self-focus. Absolutely, don't allow ourselves to get pulled into the fear, which is the negative side of Pisces. Fear, self-undoing. 12th house Pisces, fear, self-undoing, self-sabotage. Because in any sense, fear is going to sabotage us. Having the fear is a passionate, powerful energy. And if we're focusing that on the powers that think they be, that will one day be powers that were and not anymore kind of thing. Yeah, by focusing on that, we're giving them the energy. That's the point, you know, because it's making us feel like crap. We're losing things. We're losing, yeah, we're losing energy. Certain things will be going wrong in our lives because of the stress, because of the focus being taken away. I'm not really sure how to properly explain it, but the idea is we really need to do our best to not focus on, no matter how fearful it seems to be, you know, that we put ourselves first, because that's the Aries thing. That's what the energies are telling us to do. There will be others that will be putting themselves first. But again, don't jump into the fear. Know that's going to happen, right? It's happening already anyway. Um, but yeah, putting ourselves and our own health and needs first, you know, um, because again, the mental, because Mercury is in Pisces, and like our own emotional, mental health sort of thing, looking after that, not letting ourselves get overwhelmed by whatever might be going on outside. But closer to home, it might be that something needs to be purged or something's being shown. Again, with, remember, the post shadows, what was already revealed to us while the retrogrades were happening, because there was a lot, whether it's within our personal lives or whether it's in the wider world, things have happened and things have been revealed. And what are we going to be left with? What are we going to do about it? Can we do anything about it? What are our options? If we don't know what our options are, it may be time to look at that. What are our options without actually taking too much action in that sense? But the action being taking the focus off the outside that we can't change, if that makes sense. Taking action in doing the work of fixing our own situation if it needs to be, or improving our own lives, even small steps, like I said earlier. Even a small step is still a step in the right direction. A small step forward is still a step in the right direction. And that's the idea, to keep ourselves focused. Remember the Saturn in Pisces, as well as Mercury in Pisces, taking that balanced, Venus balance view of things in that sense. What can we actually improve? What do we have control over in a not negative way? You know, I would say with the previous full moon energies, the last 2 weeks prior to this time, the full moon energies might also be asking us if there's something we need ourselves to let go. Are we being a bit oppressive and we haven't realized we have been oppressive to someone or something else, you know? And looking at that. So I'd say all in all, April is quite a kind of a tough month, I think. But again, bringing in the new, because obviously by this time we would have passed through the harder, more tougher part of these aspects, like they're stronger when they were stronger. We've passed through that, we've made it through. So there's still things lingering, obviously. And so there's still working with those energies, but now we're bringing in the new. Now we're putting ourselves first and those we care about, because remember, Taurus, our values, Taurus is squaring Saturn and Venus. So that's still in play. What do we value? What can we do for ourselves to bring in the new, even in the smallest way, is going to be it's going to make a difference, and by focusing on ourselves, it's not being selfish. Sometimes we need to be selfish, and that's that. There's no two ways about it. If you're being selfish and being awful to other people, that's different. But sometimes putting ourselves first and being selfish is not actually selfish, if that makes sense. Directing, self-directed, working on ourselves, looking at what we can improve for ourselves. What we do have a healthy control over, what we do have power, our own personal power, I want to say, a healthy personal power. Because Chiron's still in Pisces there. And, going easy with that. Easy go, easy flow. Doing the best we can to look into ways that we can make things flow a little easier for ourselves, regardless of what's going on in the outside world. And not giving our power, personal power, not giving our power away to upper, people who feel that they've got more power, so to speak, that really shouldn't have more power. Well, I don't know why, but this is what wanted to come out, I guess. But yeah, so I think that the new moon is gonna have, it's gonna be like I was saying before, it's going to be the kind of the aftermath, but not, if that makes sense. Like, okay, we've dealt with all the ish before. There's still some tendrils here because the aspects are still there, but they're not like bright red. They're dissipating, right? But we're still working with those energies, and now we get to do what we want, bring in what we want for ourselves. Because by this time, I think at least Mercury, actually, by that time, Mercury's probably out of his post shadow. Venus may not be, but she'll be close to it if she isn't out of her post shadow by then. But yeah, so taking stock of what information came through, what information is available to us, what things, what situations, what we have control over, what we have power to do, have, focusing on that with the Aries new moon, taking responsibility, taking the lead for ourselves, self-care, self-care 2.0, really, because it's not about bubble baths only. It's about, working out the best possible scenarios, situations, whatever we can do to improve our own little square, our own little part of the world where we're at, our own small little neck of the woods, or how would you put it, our own part of, where we I'm not sure, I can't think of the word, but it's something like that, our own little plot of land or whatever, in a metaphorical sense, whether it could be physical, as in land, property, whatever. But what I'm meaning is our own front yard, our own backyard, whatever, what we can do to better our own lives and focus on that rather than allow the fear to creep in and self-sabotage us. But yeah, so this will definitely be about moving forward for ourselves. And I think that's a really good thing. I think it's very much needed after the, 2, 3 weeks or so, because all these things have been kind of leading up more than a few weeks now. And it's kind of hard to not allow it to creep into, the readings or whatever. But yeah, it is part of what's going on, and uh we have to work around it. We have to acknowledge, okay, that's it going on, but we don't have to be a part of it, if that makes sense. We don't have to allow it to pull us down. We don't have to allow it to take our energy and build off it. So really, by stressing and worrying and thinking about those people or those situations that we don't have control over, right? We're allowing them to use our energy, right? Our energy to manifest what they want. And we're giving our energy away. Therefore, we're not manifesting what we want, if that makes sense. So we need to pull back and think of ourselves. Take back our power, right? Take back our power and think for ourselves about what we want to accomplish in our little neck of the woods, whether symbolically or physically or whatever, Hopefully, I know I say that a lot, but hopefully I have made sense. But yeah, I just don't want sort of the algorithm to do certain things or get flagged or whatever. But yeah, so I hope this helps someone out there at least. But yeah, I think that's it. I think I'll leave it there. I don't think I've missed anything. I mean, there is trines. There's lots of trines going on, which is good too. Look, there's the trine to Pluto and Uranus. So that's a good thing as well, even though Mars and Pluto are opposing. See? And then we've got trines from Mars going over to a couple of the planets there, Venus, Saturn, I think, and I think also Neptune. So that's a good thing as well. So there's lots of sextiles and trines going on as well. So I think that, again, kind of similar to last month, the new moon has a lot more pleasant energy. If that makes sense. It's a lot easier. Like I said, as you saw earlier, with all these red lines, they were a lot darker and heavier because the energies were more intense. There was more intensity, more drama kind of thing, if that makes sense. But these are lighter now, so they're still in play, and there's still that energy floating around, so to speak. But it's by this time we would have got kind of used to it and gone, right, okay, now we work with what we can, what we do have our own personal power over in a healthy way, where we're not getting sucked in and giving our power to, higher ups that build more with our power that we've given away because we're stressing and sabotaging ourselves. Take back the power, put ourselves first, work with the energies to improve what we can, and that's the best we can do. But it's bringing in the new, and I think that's a big deal, quite frankly, with the personal power idea, because we've also got, see here, we've got Jupiter over here with Chiron, right? That's a sextile, an opportunity. And that's a good thing. It's an opportunity to heal ourselves in a way that gives us the power. We take our power back, even if it's just personally, taking our power back, And that's a big deal because we're going to feel different when we do that. Instead of putting them first and stressing and worrying about this person said this person's done that. Oh, did you hear the news of this or that or the other? Or did you hear the shop down the road or the office or the company of the whatever? So what? Don't let it stress you out. Don't let it be the thing to control you, because if you do that, you're giving them the power, and then they get the energy and they get the improvements. Why should we give our energy to improve them? We should pull it back, take it back, and improve our own lives, and those we care about. What do we value? Who do we value? Because remember, we're still looking at Venus. It's a challenge. Who do we value? What do we value? Putting ourselves first, putting what we want first. And this isn't just about being selfish and putting ourselves first. It might be putting ourselves first, or putting first what we value or who we value, instead of putting others, stressing out others and putting them first, by default, by stressing out and worrying about what antics they're up to. Big deal. It's going to happen regardless. So let's just focus on ourselves and put ourselves put ourselves first, and not and or putting ourselves first and putting first those we care about, what we value, who we value. Clearly, we couldn't be valuing outsiders, that outside influences that don't even know us or whatever. You know what I mean? So yeah, putting ourselves first and who and what we value in a healthy, good way, because this is the new moon, so it's bringing in the new. So focus on that, and it'll be a really good, it'll be really empowering, because that's the whole point of the growth and change, what we started with, the quincunx, remember, in the full moon. The catalyst for growth and change needs to happen. And here's our growth and change. Bringing back our personal power, calling back our power, taking the lead in our own lives, calling back our power, focusing only on what and who is important to us, what and who we value. Okay, so now I think I'll leave it at that. And I hope that this has made sense, and I hope this is helpful to whoever's watching. And I wish you guys all the best, because this is, I believe it's a pretty kind of tough month with those T-squares and the quincunxes, because there was two of those too. So yeah, so all the best of luck for April and onwards. But yeah, all the best of luck with working with these energies. Hopefully I've given you some idea of how to work with these energies and what sort of things might come up. Again, look into where those signs fall in your chart to get a bit more information about what might be happening, with the themes of the houses that they fall in for you. But yeah, hopefully I haven't been sort of talking in too many circles, and I've kind of made some sense. But yeah, I wish you guys all the best of luck, as I do for me as well, because I'll be working with these energies too. I'm not exempt from this sort of stuff either. But yeah, so let's focus on ourselves in a good, healthy way, and what we value, because that's the important thing here. Don't get caught in that, the negatives. Only bring in the positive, all the things that light us up, that build us up, us and who and what we value, I think is the main thing there. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. And as I say, I wish you all the best of luck, as I do for me as well, with working with these energies and moving forward in our lives in a good, positive, prosperous way, I want to say. Yeah, so I'm going to leave it there, and speak to you next month. But well, I'll be speaking to you all when I do the rising sun readings with the cards as well anyway. But yeah, so till next time, bye for now.